Here comes the pit right along the right fender there and spinning that Mercedes out of control, doing a full 180 and disabling that vehicle.
Welcome to Viral Twist. When the suspects tried to escape, the police had the perfect move to stop them. You'll be shocked to see it.
Well, so far, I can only report what you guys have been talking about, but as we get a better glimpse behind him here, I can tell you, unfortunately, as I look at the situation from back here and also looking at our maps, the 210 really doesn't clear up for him. That carpool lane is a bit of a luxury right now, but really the main lanes are pretty steadily, you have seen a lot of volume for a Tuesday afternoon here, but of course we are in the prime of rush hour, so it doesn't completely surprise me. It makes a lot of sense, but obviously he has had a lot of luck in his way here, as he's had that carpool lane completely to himself. And the further east he gets, I can tell that there are more and more units joining the pursuit, and these are all, rest assured, California Highway Patrol units at that. So they are getting ready for a major felony stop once these three eventually either run out of gas or give themselves up. If they potentially make a run for it and foot bail, that's the other scenario. There has been talk of a spike strip. Interestingly, you can see there's people that are actually streaming this and actually pulling over on that overpass there to catch a glimpse of this pursuit. But there was talk of a spike strip. That would be highly unorthodox, but as you guys know, we do see it occasionally from time to time when the situation and the circumstances are just right. You might once in a while see a spike attempt on the freeway, but with this much traffic, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to my mind, unless they find themselves in an area that's more secluded or with a lot less traffic, to say the least. But you can see here, as we get closer, the volume kind of breaks up a little bit, but he's still very much committed to that number one lane. Yeah, you're right about that, Jory. Run flat tires could go a little bit further, but it would still hopefully have the effect of at least impeding the handling of the vehicle. The actual steering could change a little bit, and you could still see some benefits of a successful spike. But in any event, that's, like I said, for now, still off the table, but the number of CHP units dedicated to this pursuit is really catching my eye, and I presume that will continue as they continue to hand this off to neighboring agencies. Last I heard, this was Baldwin Park, but I believe that some of these units by now must be Rancho Cucamonga units that have taken over this pursuit and will continue this pursuit for a ways to go before we get closer to Palm Springs. And now you can see we're getting much closer to this Mercedes-Benz, which is very heavily tinted, almost illegally tinted, I would say, from my vantage point. Impossible at this angle to see through those windows. I am getting a lot of static in my ear. I'm not sure where that's coming from. If that's that might be you. Try UHF4. Let's just see. Stand by 1 second here. Still pretty bad. But anyways, guys, he now has that entire freeway to himself. If those units, by the way, are in a position where they are forced to pull back for whatever reason, which I don't anticipate, they do have that California Highway Patrol helicopter right above it all, calling the shots. So that helicopter overhead is calling out the speed and location, and those units on the ground can then concentrate on just continuing the pursuit at a safe distance without having to worry about a whole lot of extra communication or radio traffic. They're right behind them. They've got plenty of officers dedicated here, and now it becomes a much safer situation. Always safer on the freeway, but when you have a wide open freeway like this with not many other motorists in the vicinity, then you have the opportunity to get a little more creative, and it looks like he's getting off. This
is 215, right?
At the 215 freeway. That's the 215, and he will have the option here. I believe he still has the option of going, southbound. Now he's committed to the southbound side. Something just flew off of that vehicle, or he may have just run something over. I saw some sparks there, but he is now committed to the southbound side of the 210 freeway, where, by the way, traffic remains relatively light here, but at least he's going to stay in the metro area of San Bernardino. He's not going to continue into the desert at this direction. He's going to go southbound on the 215 freeway. And maybe we'll start to figure out whether he has connections out here, whether he is familiar with this area, or whether he's just continuing this joyride along the freeway. But as long as he's on the freeway, that's where law enforcement would like to keep it. Guys, I'm going to hand it off to you for just a second until I figure out where the static. Oh, it might be.
Yeah, you got it.
That's just coming from our
You got it, Chris. Okay, so now 215 South. This now gives this driver the opportunity to head back into the LA metro area on a number of outlets. But anytime I see a car heading east like this car was, you wonder whether they're going to try and go up over one of the mountain passes where helicopters might have some trouble making it up and over. You talk about fuel and you talk about elevation. But now, is this, so he might have just exited off of the 215. This is, no, it wouldn't be the 10. We're still too far north, I think, for the 10. This might be the 66.
He's right there. He's right there on the 215, guys. I'm not sure if
stayed
you can
on.
hear me.
And now coming to, now off of the freeway.
Okay,
this is at baseline.
He's at the exit ramp.
Yeah.
Okay, he's on Surface Street. He's making a left now on Baseline, going westbound on Baseline Avenue, and now maybe preparing to go the opposite way on the 215 freeway, doing a 180, and now going back northbound on the 215 freeway. And that's what I was starting to get at there. If we see these kinds of turns, it tells you, wait a minute, I'm not so comfortable. I don't know my way around here, or my final destination is not going in the direction that he was going. So for whatever reason, we're speculating, but for whatever reason, he's decided to go ahead and reverse course, get off the freeway, and now going the opposite way, northbound on the 215 freeway. Now, I would expect him to stay on the 215 freeway all the way up to the Cajon Pass, because if he gets onto the 210, which he could do, then he knows he's in for some more traffic, and something tells me that this guy does not want to keep fighting that traffic that he's been fighting for the better part of the last hour or so. That's just a guess, but obviously he may have a destination in mind, and that might be taking priority. In any event, he's going northbound now on the 215 freeway towards the Cajon Pass. We'll see a wild, look at them, cutting really off that Mack truck, a wild swerve in front of that 18-wheeler. A great move if you're trying to lose those officers, but there's plenty behind them to make up for that last-minute move. Another wild left-hand turn through that, fortunately, green light. And now this pursuit, again, back on surface streets, taking on a more dangerous profile here. And now we can expect a possible pit maneuver here if they see an opportunity. One has to believe that pit maneuver has been authorized by now.
You would think, and it almost looked like that pursuing officer thought about it and just kind of realized there were too many cars around. But once you see a vehicle like this being pursued take wild movements like that, you can feel the desperation and the danger ratchet up pretty quickly and pretty noticeably. And it seemed like that officer knew what was going on, realized what was happening here, and thought about it, but then just didn't have the situational go ahead to be able to pull that off. And now we are on Highland Avenue, back on side streets. You know, we said early on here that it was an uneventful pursuit, and that's what you want to see from law enforcement's perspective. Blowing through a red light, it just turned green, but you see people there. I don't know if that was a baby stroller or a shopping cart, but you see people at intersections, and you have a car going this fast, Chris, you start talking about some real dangerous possibilities.
You've got innocent motorists left and right, pedestrians. What was an uneventful pursuit may very quickly become very eventful. Here comes the pit right along the right fender there, and spinning that Mercedes out of control, doing a full 180 and disabling that vehicle for now. We'll see if there's anything left in the tank there. He has come to a complete stop. He is now facing southbound, face to face with these 3 CHP units. Head on now with his hands and arms in the air, driver getting out of the vehicle. It is over for him, he understands.